Well, it's good to be with you. What you're about to see is exclusive video coming in from the Texas Department of Public Safety's Aircraft Division just outside of Eagle Pass, Texas, as hundreds of people are crossing from the Mexico side into the United States illegally. And you can see just a line of people stretching from one end of the Rio Grande River to the other and then deep into Mexico as people are lined up to make their way into the U.S. Now, this is important as we're discussing the heels of receiving information this morning that from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection for the month of December, they apprehended 174,000 people at the southwest border. Now, the reason that's important is that because usually during the December months, the number of migration numbers start dropping. We see none of that. As a matter of fact, now looking at the data for October, November, and December for fiscal year 22, CBP stands at 512,000 apprehensions. These are numbers never before seen. And you can see it playing out real time at the border as a result of the video we've been able to get. Back to you.
All right, Jaeson Jones, thank you very much for that report. For reaction to the latest wave of illegal migrants flooding into the U.S., let's welcome in Texas State Congressman Brian Harrison. State Rep, thanks for coming on today. Let's show you a look at some preliminary data for December. This is according, again, to Jaeson's reporting for us here, suggesting the crisis at our southern border showing no signs, really, of slowing down. What do these numbers tell you?
Well, it's tragic, it's heartbreaking, and most of all, it's unnecessary. When Joe Biden took over from the Trump administration, when we left office last January, he inherited the most secure border in history. We were building the wall. We had the Remain in Mexico policy. And in my agency, HHS, where I was the chief of staff during the Trump administration, we were implementing the Title 42 regulation. That was the regulation that actually allowed us to immediately deport illegal immigrants as soon as they got here. And Joe Biden systematically trashed and destroyed every one of our successes. He created the Biden border crisis that we're seeing right now. That footage is just really genuinely sad and tragic. All he had to do to maintain the integrity of that southern border was absolutely nothing. And so it's the reason that states like Texas, we here in the legislature allocated money. We're having to move resources around. There was recently $3 billion that was added to increase our border security efforts, to continue building the wall that President Trump started. We're going to have to continue doing that. It's unfortunate. This is one of the few responsibilities the federal government has under the Constitution, but states like Texas are stepping up, fighting back. And it's unfortunate we are where we are. But Joe Biden created this. He did it on purpose. This is the America he wanted.
And how much of the responsibility is Texas really taking on to defend the United States border that you've seen and the decisions that we've seen from Governor Abbott?
Yeah, no, it's genuinely unprecedented to have a state stand up and say, you know what, even though this is a federal responsibility, we are going to take it upon ourselves because we are the first impacted. We're the most impacted. We're going to allocate our resources, our state money, our state personnel, Department of Public Safety and otherwise. We're going to send resources down there, and we are going to ourselves work to maintain the integrity of the border of the United States, something that the federal government is clearly being derelict in their duty to do so. And, you know, we have so many people that are impacted down there on the border. They're willing to donate their land. They're willing to donate their money. So we're not just relying on federal money. We're not just relying on tax money. This is stuff, and I think it's allowing, per the governor's office, we're able to put up about a football field's length worth of a wall just about every month. And some of these contractors are the same contractors that were used under the Trump administration, very similar specifications to the wall that was being built in the previous administration. So it's unfortunate. But I am proud to live in a state that does not going to completely secede the sovereignty of our borders to a federal government who has decided to be, you know, missing in action and allow hundreds of thousands of people to come here. We're talking 150 to 200,000 based on those numbers per month. I mean, that's about the size of a medium-sized United States city every month arriving at our shores. This crisis must end, and states like Texas are stepping up and fighting back.
You know, let's talk about another headline coming out of Texas here. This has to do with the fight against President Biden's vaccine mandates in Texas. Last week, a federal judge blocking the administration's attempt to mandate COVID vaccines for workers in the state's school readiness program. A ruling also got rid of the guideline that would have forced students as young as 2 years old and up to mask up in schools. Brian, talk to me about this, what some are calling a victory.
It's absolutely a victory. And it's, you know, just another example of states, in this case, Texas, again, stepping up, fighting back, and in this case, defeating the Biden administration. So Head Start is an HHS program. I was the chief of staff at HHS. And what the new administration did when they took over, because they so took their eye off the ball on testing, they so took their eye off the ball on therapeutics, they are putting all their eggs in this vaccine basket. So what they tried to do with Head Start, they had vaccine mandates masquerading as education policy, genuinely acting in a dictatorial way. Congress never gave HHS the authority through their Head Start program to mandate hundreds of thousands, millions of children as young as 2 or 5 or staff or volunteers in the Head Start program to have to be vaccinated just upon the edict of the federal government. So I'm really glad that the state of Texas sued. Other states now have also sued, and the judiciary has stepped in and slapped them back. We're seeing Joe Biden's dictatorial actions on the COVID vaccine mandates getting slapped down left, right, and center. They tried to do it for contractors, for all healthcare workers under CMS. And it's why I introduced legislation in Texas to ban all vaccine mandates. The states, while it's great that the judiciary is stepping in and staying some of these dictatorial decrees coming out of the Biden administration, states need to continue stepping up and fighting back. I think 11 states have passed laws. The state of Texas, I hope, does as well with the Texas COVID Vaccine Freedom Act, because we have the liberty of hundreds of millions of Americans literally on the line as I speak. The OSHA mandate was recently reinstated. If that's not stayed again, then we're going to have the liberty and the medical freedom and autonomy to make your own healthcare decisions for hundreds of millions of Americans put at risk. And it's going to actually run the risk of putting us into sort of a post-constitutional era if the executive branch of government can both make laws and enforce them. States need to stand up and fight back.
Yeah, the big ruling with OSHA going before the Supreme Court, those hearings for oral arguments happening this Friday. So we'll be watching for that. Right. There's an update for you on the state of Texas, though. So State Rep Brian Harrison, thanks so much for joining us and sharing it with us.
Great to be with you.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.